tonight on Elon Local News.
Part at home. As the war on Ukraine continues, one Elon professor discusses what it's like to watch from afar.
Music Mission, and with funding discrepancies in ABSS, how one program attempts to close the gap.
I'll have your Phoenix 5-day forecast and a whole lot more about the weather.
Those stories and more.
Elon Local News starts now.
Live from the Jane and Brian Williams studio at Elon University School of Communications, you're watching Elon Local News.
Good evening and welcome to Elon Local News. I'm Chloe Franklin.
And I'm Naomi Washington. Thank you for joining us. We begin tonight with an update on the war in Ukraine.
Ukrainian President Zelensky meets with U.S. Secretaries Antony Blinken and Lloyd Austin in Kyiv as he pleads for more weapons and additional security guarantees. The secretaries announced an additional $700 million in military aid. President Biden's Ukrainian refugee program, Unite for Ukraine, began today. The program allowed Americans to sponsor individual refugees.
One Elon professor is struggling to navigate the war in Ukraine and teach on a daily basis. Our Aaron Martin has the story.
Vitaly Strahush is from Lviv, the largest city in western Ukraine. He moved to the United States to get his degree and was hired as an economics professor 12 years ago. He says seeing his home attacked is heartbreaking.
I mean, this is probably the biggest atrocity of the century that's happening right now. So this is similar to World War II, and everybody's going to be affected by that. It's not going to be you cannot be on the sidelines.
Strahush says it is difficult explaining the war to his 10-year-old daughter, who was born in Ukraine.
They're doing this because we are Ukrainians. That's it. This is just the only reason why they're doing this, because we are Ukrainians. They cannot afford to have strong Ukraine, to have they want to eliminate us as a nation completely, physically destroying us. How you can explain it to a 10-year child? I mean, I don't know how.
Despite the difficulties navigating the war, Strahush says he relies on his support network, Ukrainians in the Carolinas, to help cope with the war.
It's always easier to talk to somebody, and this is so it's more psychological thing too. But to share your grief, your tragedy with somebody else who is going through the same things or similar things.
Aaron Martin, Elon Local News.
For more on this story, pick up a copy of this week's special international edition of The Pendulum.
Firearms are now the #1 killer for children and teens, according to a new study by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. With that, President Biden is tackling policy here at home. He announced earlier this month a new rule on ghost guns, weapons that are untraceable. Our Margaret Faust talked with two who are passionate about gun rights in North Carolina.
Meet Rudy Cartassi. He is co-owner of Rad Industries, a gun shop and shooting range in Burlington. This is Becky Cartassi, executive director of North Carolinians Against Gun Violence. They both want the same thing, people to stay safe from violence.
None of us are monsters. In all of our industry, none of us, we are human beings just like everyone else, and we have hearts too. Any loss of life is tragic.
People who are killed are other people's children. They're other people's brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles.
Where they disagree is how to prevent violent gun deaths. Cartassi says the answer is for people to arm themselves with guns.
If somebody sees you have a firearm, they're probably less likely to do anything. It gives them that pause to say,
Kirstos says the answer is enforcing laws so that guns don't end up in the wrong hands.
Felons, people who have a dangerous past, and people who are a threat to themselves or others. Those are clear cases where people just should not have guns.
According to the Alamance County Sheriff's Office, in 2019, guns were the leading weapon used in robbery, murder, rape, and aggravated assault. There is no reported data on ghost guns in Alamance County.
Ghost guns are sold in kits like this. The kits contain parts that, when assembled, will be a weapon. But because the kits contain parts and they're not a weapon yet, customers don't need to pass a background check to purchase the kits, and once assembled, the weapons won't have a serial number on them. Biden's rule will change this.
These guns are weapons of choice for many criminals. We're going to do everything we can to deprive them of that choice. And when we find them, put them in jail for a long, long time.
Biden's proposal will require background checks and serial numbers, but it will neither ban the guns completely nor increase the penalties for crimes committed with them. Kierstad says she supports Biden's proposal, but Cartassi is worried that this is the beginning of more restrictions to come. Margaret Faust, Elon Local News.
This new rule is expected to take effect in August of this year.
While over 95% of campus is registered under the university's new security system, Brave Mobile Safety, not all are actively using it. We spoke with students to see how they're getting connected.
I've heard of it. I've gotten all the emails, a lot of texts about it. I have a few teammates who use it here, but I have not personally used it yet myself.
No, never heard of it. I got Duo, but I don't have the mobile safety app.
No, I just haven't heard of it, or else I would.
The only use I think I would have for it at the moment is the calling campus security, which I already have the number. I have to do it more often than I need to.
I think it's really great for the campus, and it's a good resource to know what's going on. Yeah.
Definitely bettering the campus. Yeah. Maybe not us specifically. I don't think we've had too many times where we needed to call campus police, but there's definitely, there's probably people who would use it, yeah.
If you're looking to learn more about Brave Mobile Safety, there's a demonstration with Police Chief Joe Lemire on our website, elonnewsnetwork.com.
Decision day for incoming students is under a week away. According to the university, just over 1,400 students are set to join the class of 2026. That compares to 1,200 last year, right before the class of 2025 committed. National Decision Day is May 1st.
The Singer tradition of receiving an oak sapling after graduation is being altered this year, with students now receiving theirs at a reimagined baccalaureate service on May 17th at 7:30 p.m. As graduation ceremonies have changed in the past several years with the opening of Schar Center and the pandemic, seniors had been vocal that they wanted a part of their final moments on campus back where it all began, under the oaks. The service is a time of spiritual reflection, inspiration, and tradition, featuring luminaries, music, and a candle ceremony. An alternate location to pick up saplings for those unable to attend is still being worked out by the Offices of Student Life and Spiritual Services.
You're watching Elon Local News.
Nearly 30 years of Spring Undergraduate Research Forum, otherwise known as Surf Day, continues tomorrow on campus. There are over 200 students presenting. While communication students are not required to do research, one comm major went the extra mile. Senior Strategic Communications major Abby Weaver is presenting for the first time, and she says she decided to do research to fulfill one credit for graduation, but she is glad she did it.
I think comm students sometimes don't do those types of projects, and I'm glad to be representing, and I'm glad to prove to myself that I can do it.
Studying abroad in Costa Rica, Weaver decided to research how social media changed during and after the Costa Rican presidential primary election. She hopes students will learn about Costa Rica and its democracy from her presentation.
I hope that people will take away that they experience the same things that we do in terms of social media, campaigning, and having these new right-wing ideologies coming to play. And honestly, we can look to them to have really stable democracy because they also still do paper and pen voting, and they get the day off to vote, which is a huge deal.
The poster and oral presentations will be taking place across campus on Tuesday from 8:30 a.m. to 4 o'clock p.m. The Surf Day reception will be from 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. in front of Alumni Gym.
Chloe, I'm really enjoying the nice spring weather we're having right now.
It's so nice because of shorts and, Birkenstocks, but it's so hot.
I'm enjoying the heat because I feel like the pollen isn't as bad with everything that's going, I feel like it's not as bad. I can breathe again.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Well, it's 11 minutes after the hour now, and joining us live under the oaks for a look at the weather ahead is our Ellis Chandler.
Ellis, good evening.
Thanks, Naomi and Chloe. It's been a warm start to the work week. Today's actually the hottest day of the year we've seen so far. The high today was 87. It's currently about 82, and that's only going to continue to drop, but it's still pretty nice out here. Tomorrow, we're expected to see some rain, scattered thunderstorms from about 2 to 5 p.m. So if you're out with friends or headed to a Surf Day presentation, make sure to bring an umbrella and maybe even your boots. We all know how those Elon bricks like to flood, but the rain isn't sticking around too long. Wednesday and Thursday are back up in those high 60s, low 70s, with lows all week in the 40s. Friday and Saturday, we're expected to see a little bit more cloud coverage, maybe some rain, but it's too soon to tell on that. I'll have a little bit more later on in the show for you about pollen, sunburn, all the things that make spring so wonderful. But for now, back to you in the studio.
Ellis, Chandler live under the Oaks for us this evening. Thank you so much.
We'll check back with you outside in a few minutes.
The Elon Black Alumni Network, known as EBAN, awarded Elon Jr. Christina Carr over $25,000 in scholarship money. The EBAN Scholarship Fund started in 2007. All the money comes from alumni who just want to give back. Carr says getting the scholarship takes away the burden of paying for tuition.
There's so many Black students who do like amazing things at Elon, so like you don't really know like who it's gonna go to and like who they think it'll best serve. So I was super, like I was sitting there and I was just like, please, please, please. And then I got up and it was like great just to see like, okay, I got it this time.
Co-chair of the EBAN Scholarship Committee, Alex Bohannon, says the committee is grateful for having raised over $600,000 since the scholarship's creation.
The Elon Black Alumni Network, I think, is very privileged and honored to be able to have the scholarship to be able to assist students by alleviating, that in a small way, or I guess in her case, probably a large way.
As the recipient of the award, Carr will serve as a campus ambassador for the Elon Black Alumni Network. She says she's excited for more students to learn about the organization.
With this year's Lumen Scholars officially named, the 15 sophomores are beginning their 2-year research process. Each are granted $20,000 to complete their research. Vivian Krause, a biomedical engineering major, is researching racial biases in pulse oximeters, a device that measures blood oxygen levels. She learned about this problem in a class this fall and felt motivated to solve it.
There is a lot of racial bias within medical devices and practices that is currently being acknowledged. There's a lot of research going into it. However, there haven't been a lot of solutions.
In 7th grade. Or Kaylee Rogers is researching feminism in Victorian literature. Her interest in the subject started in high school when her teacher assigned Jane Eyre, a book Rogers said changed her life. She says the genre is still relevant today.
There's always an intent behind every word written, and so I hope that people see the way that women writers were not only struggling to be successful in their careers, but how they were advocating for a larger sense of feminism.
Rogers will be staying on campus over the summer through the Summer Undergraduate Research Experience to start her Lumen research.
Music gives students an outlet outside of school, but some say the funding system is broken. Our Anne-Marie Bonner shows us how one band is fighting that disparity.
Greg Milton is Cummings High School's band director. He's also a mentor to his music students.
When your body's tired like it is today and you are ready to give up, throw in the towel, you have a student that come up and say, Mr. Milton, thank you, you're doing a good job.
Milton has been at Cummings for 4 years. When the pandemic hit, they were short on instruments and basic needs.
There's been countless times where I went in my pocket and paid for kids' food, paid for kids' shoes, because parents just did not have it. And I think that's one of the realities of our current situation.
To raise money for new uniforms, they hosted a Battle of the Bands concert on April 9th. They invited 4 local schools and universities to fill the gym with the sounds of drums.
According to the National Association of Music Education, music is important for learning, memory, and coordination skills. But Alamance Burlington school systems fund music programs less than they fund athletic programs. Last year's budget shows that athletics received this amount of money, whereas music programs received this much. But Milton's marching band that performs in these bleachers receive a budget of $1,300 per year.
Senior Josiah Thomas says when he comes to school and sees music education taking the backseat to athletics, it's discouraging.
You can tell it's not basketball or football. And I don't know if all schools do this or majority of schools do this, but you have a lot of schools that put their funding towards sports. They won't even look at the band.
Patsy Simpson is the vice chair of the Alamance Burlington School System School Board.
Wow.
That's her reaction to hearing the money Milton gets for his program every year. Simpson says the school board looked at making a school designated for the arts, but that got denied.
Because of the push from the community, that did not happen, and they were told that they would still have band programs throughout the district, which tells me that there is still going to be that funding gap.
Milton says these problems aren't stopping him from doing the work he loves, fighting for music education one beat at a time. Anne-Marie Bonner, Elon Local News.
The band is still working to raise money for new uniforms, which cost around $60,000. Their next performance is set for May 21st in Hertford County.
You're watching Elon Local News.
After a 2-year hiatus due to COVID-19, Elon students are set to join other 18 to 26-year-olds on Birthright, a 10-day trip to Israel over the summer. Our Jenna Mandarioli tells us more about the program, which connects members with their Jewish heritage and identities.
Elon sophomore Julia Herman is traveling with the National North Carolina group of the Birthright trip, which includes Elon, High Point University, and Wake Forest University. She has been to Israel twice before, but believes traveling with other Elon students will further strengthen her Judaism.
I found that Elon had a trip, so I decided, meet more Elon people and not just stick with the home friends.
The program sends participants on tours, hikes, and other activities. Following up with Herman, she says she is excited about the program's return since the pandemic, but wonders if it will be different.
I hope it doesn't change any of the activities or anything like that. I'd be curious to see the itineraries in the past versus now.
Elon Jr. Sivan Proper is also going on a separate Birthright trip. She says she appreciates the program's focus on young adults.
Past 18, you're an adult, and you've grown up either with Judaism or if you haven't really grown up with it. I feel like it's the time where you can choose how much you want to connect with that part of yourself.
Proper says she is excited to be surrounded by a larger Jewish environment. Jenna Mandarioli, Elon Local News.
Birthright summer trips are set to begin departures May 1st and run through the end of August in 10-day increments.
And joining us live in the studio now is our Liam Stevens to talk to us about sports this week.
Liam, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Liam, first we want to talk about the recent development with the men's basketball team. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so sophomore Michael Graham just announced this afternoon that he's committing to Loyola Marymount University in Los Angeles. Graham becomes the second Elon player in the transfer portal to commit to a new school, just 1 week after Billy Taylor became the new head coach. Loyola Marymount belongs to the West Coast Conference and competes against schools like Gonzaga University and the University of San Francisco. Graham is a big loss for the Phoenix, as he started every single game last year, averaging 9.3 points, 6.8 rebounds, and 1.3 blocks. Replacing him is going to be key for next year's team.
Thank you so much for that update. And a recent update we just got in the newsroom, Gerald Gillen's Butler has withdrawn from the transfer portal, so he will stay at Elon next year. We'll have continued coverage on the men's basketball team as the transfer portal deadline approaches.
And now moving on to other sports on campus, our men's golf team is in the middle of their conference play right now. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so junior Bronson Myers is currently tied for 14th in the tournament, and the team sits in 4th place overall. After missing playing in last year's tournament, Myers says he's excited to be active this year with fans present.
It's honestly just, it's so nice to be down here. I mean, there's spectators everywhere on almost every hole, and, you can just make a par or a nice shot in, and you get claps and cheers from people you've never met, and it's pretty nice, honestly. It's hard to get that at golf.
All right, and with spring sports coming to a close, what can we expect to keep an eye out for the rest of the year?
Yeah, so there's a lot of CAA championship tournaments coming up. Softball has 2 series before their tournament, May 12th to the 14th, and baseball has 13 games before theirs in the end of May.
All right, well, Liam, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You're watching Elon Local News.
Shirley Tempos is set to hit the stage on Friday for their annual spring concert. The theme is Golden Hour or Sunset. Music director and junior Jose McNeil has been planning this concert since the beginning of the semester. She says singing with the singers for the last time will be emotional.
It's hard to picture. Everyone says this every year, oh my God, it's gonna be so weird that you're not coming back. But these are people I think of as family, and I'm it's gonna be really hard to watch them go and sing with them one last time.
The concert is set to start on Friday at 8 p.m. in Whitley Auditorium. Tickets can be purchased in Mosley Center all week for $7.
Well, I don't know about you, but this spring weather has been keeping me on my toes.
Yeah, same. And to tell us more about how to handle these new weather patterns, we have Ellis Chandler back live under the Oaks.
Thanks, Naomi and Chloe. It's good to be back with you. The tree pollen's been getting to me too, and it all comes from the oak trees behind us, which make up a lot of what's on Elon's campus. Oak pollen takes a couple different forms, but if it's bothering your allergies, I've got a couple things for you that you may not have thought of yet. One of those is vacuuming your living space frequently. We bring in a lot of pollen on us, on our clothes and our backpack and things like that. Another thing you can do is wash your clothing and your bedding frequently. And you can also, as tempting as it may be to sort of keep that breeze in, close your car windows when you're out driving around and keep your living space windows closed so it's not coming in through there. Now, the UV index here in Elon is just as high in April as it is in late August, and that sun will get you quicker than you think. So put on a little bit of the good stuff as you're headed out. It can still get up to an 8, 9, 10. So even if you're walking around or just hanging out with friends, sunscreen might be your friend if those shoulders and noses are looking a little red. That's all I have for you tonight, but back to you in the studio.
Ellis, Chandler, thank you so much.
Elon is trending on Twitter, but not for the reason you might think. Twitter has officially accepted Elon Musk's buyout deal, selling the social platform for $44 billion. The transaction, unanimously approved by the Twitter board of directors, is expected to close this year, subject to the approval of Twitter stockholders. Once finalized, the social platform will become a privately held company. Musk tweeted after the purchase, quote, "I hope that even my worst critics remain on Twitter because that is what free speech means."
Well, our Twitter timelines might look a little bit different by the end of this year, which is kind of crazy.
It's so crazy. I mean, and so much money to buy it, but I don't know, it's definitely going to change a lot.
It's going to change. Well, that is all the news we have for you this evening. Thank you so much for joining us.
For all the news you need to know when we're not on the air, visit our website, elonnewsnetwork.com.
And be sure to follow us on social media at Elon News Network.
Join Ashlyn Deloe and Baylor Rodman on the couch for ELN Morning Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern.
Have a great week, Elon.